Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to be free, the wretched refuse of your teeming shore. Send these, the homeless. Tempest tossed to me, I lift my lamp beside the golden door. That is on the Statue of Liberty, of course. But there is hypocrisy there because most people, a lot of people out there say, get out. No open borders. We don't want you here. Get lost. Not a very nice view, and not a very ethical view. Now, I think the case for open borders, and I'm going to make the case for open borders, and I'm going to make respond to some criticisms against it. One is purely moral and ethical. You have a right to kick someone out of your own property. I don't want you in my home. I don't want you in my room. I don't want you in my store. A person has a right to do that. But you don't have a right to kick someone out of property you don't own. So in fact, if I want someone in my property and you deny that person to enter my property, you have violated both our rights. You have violated my rights to decide to let someone into my property, and you have violated his rights to accept an invitation. So no one owns this entire country. If you're going to say that people own this entire country, then we live on a slave plantation because your home, which you either build or spend money on, belongs to someone else, and if someone else's money and property belongs to someone else, that's the definition of slavery. So no one owns this entire country, and therefore you don't have a right to kick people out. Maybe I want immigrants to come to my home, and who are you to deny them access? I could say don't enter my home, but I can't say don't enter someone else's home. And since no one enters this country, anyone can enter it. Until every single area is privatized, then people can't trespass on other people's property. But until that point, people are allowed to enter a land that's unclaimed. And the fact that you don't want them there isn't enough, right? I don't have a right to push people off the street that I don't own just because I don't want them on the street. And immigration is no different. Now, denying people access to immigration, of course, is murder. Or at the very least, causing them to be murdered, right? I mean, imagine a person who is leaving and escaping a violent, tyrannical regime, a regime that they commit genocide in, and he tries to emigrate to a country that's safer, and they send him back to be killed. They send him back to North Korea. They send him back to like Nazi Germany or the communist purges or whatever. That they are sending him back to be killed. They are sending him back into the arms of a murderer. Right now, I mean, to me, the analogy of denying people immigration is like if a person is in a room with a lion. Now, you didn't put them in the room with the lion, but they try to open the door to get out of the room with the lion, and you don't let them leave, or you put them back in. You've murdered them. If the lion eats them, even though you didn't put them there, denying them is murdering them, right? Look, according to libertarian theory, if someone is drowning in a river, the only reason you have, from a legal standpoint, the only reason you should have to save him is if you pushed him in the river. But if other people are trying to save him because they're being nice, and you say, no, you're not allowed to save this guy drowning, and he drowns, you've committed murder. Yes, you didn't push him in the river, but by forcibly denying other people to help him, you caused his death. So denying people access to immigration, in my opinion, is tantamount to murder. You are setting them back to a worse life. By definition, if it was a better life, they wouldn't be leaving. So not only does it violate private property, where if I want an immigrant to come to my home and you don't let him enter the country, to enter my home, you've denied me property rights of my home, you have sent him back to a regime to be killed, which is, I think, pretty barbaric and pretty heartless and pretty cruel. A lot of the cases for immigration, I think, are nonsense, and I'll address them. One is, well, there are people who want to kill us. Okay, there are people who want to kill us. Why is someone in a foreign country necessarily more of a threat than someone here? There are murderers in the United States. There are thieves in the United States. Why is every person in the United States you could trust, but someone from another country is a potential murderer? Why would someone go hundreds of miles away just to enter a land and kill people when you can kill people close by? There may be threats and people want to kill you from foreign lands, but why are they more of a threat or more of a risk than people here? So, I mean, if we're going to take this to its logical conclusion, no one should be able to enter the country from another country because they might want to kill us. Well, no one should be able to have children because their children might grow up to be murderers and will kill my children. Now, of course, this is complete utter nonsense, but that, I think, is the logic consistently of, well, foreigners might want to kill us. Okay, and domestic people might want to kill you. So what? That doesn't mean we can't, we have to cage everyone here. Or not allow people to walk on the street. No one should be able to walk on the street because that person might want to just stab people walking on the street. Well, until you have any probable cause, you can't just make that assumption. Another criticism against open immigration is that they will steal our jobs. Now, first of all, what that means, I mean, if you're dating a girl and she dumps you for someone else, has he stolen your girlfriend? No, because you don't own your girlfriend. Well, you don't own your job, right? You are hired by an employer to work for him, and you don't own your job, and therefore you can't deny someone else. No one can steal your job, right? There's no one taking people's jobs away. The fact that you're replaced by someone better, well, don't blame him because he's better at your work or cheaper than you are. And, I mean, all this nonsense of stealing jobs is ridiculous. Immigrants create jobs. The fact that one person does a job there's not a certain amount of jobs, and when an immigrant uses them, there's less for someone else. That frees up jobs, that creates jobs for other people. So you can't really steal jobs, and you have no right to a job anyway. Another criticism against immigration is that they're going to make this country more statist, that a lot of immigrants are coming from, heavily big government areas, and they're going to come here and bring their big government ideology with them. Well, there's really no evidence to support that theory, and rationally speaking, why does that make sense? It's important to remember that these people are leaving the heavily statist country to enter, another country. Why would people leave a country that and love that big government ideology to go to another country? I mean, I think a perfectly rational response to that is to say that immigrants are probably less statist because they understand how bad big government is, and that's why they want to leave to go to a place that they hope is less intrusive upon their lives. Where you don't really know how bad and big government can be because you're not leaving. Or, even if your government is oppressive, you're not willing to run away from it. So you're more willing to sit and tolerate government intrusions where they're not. They're going to say, government's being too intrusive, I'm going to go somewhere else. And you can make that case. That actually, if you want to have a freer government and a more limited government, you should say, come immigrants, and immigrants from the biggest countries, we welcome you most because you know how horrible big government is and you're willing to run away from it. So I think that is just a bad argument. Another argument you hear against immigration is, well, they'll bring diseases, with them, or possible they'll bring diseases, but people can be sick here as well, domestically. Another reason against people say, well, you can't have open borders is because people in the foreign country from foreign countries, even though they don't exist, countries are just sort of invisible lines on a map. but people from foreign countries, immigrants immigrating here, are just going on a handout from the welfare state. Well, one, empirically, this isn't true. Most people in welfare are domestic people. Secondly, you don't have a right to welfare. Denying people immigration because of the welfare state, I think, is more of an argument against the welfare state than it is an argument against immigration. And secondly, you can say, look, we're only going to give, before we give people money from the welfare states, we're going to check the birth certificate, and we're not, or you have to live here for a certain number of years, right? You can simply say you're allowed to move to this country, but unless you're here for a certain number of years, we're not going to give you welfare. You can do that. You don't have to give welfare to immigrants. You shouldn't be giving it to anyone, so you're not denying their rights by refusing to give them welfare. And so you can just say, look, open borders, but we're not going to give you welfare. That solves that problem, right? Sort of, the same thing with voting. You don't have a right to vote. I mean, why do you have a right to vote someone else's property and life away from them? You could deny voting to people. You could say you're not able to vote. So I think those are pretty much the main arguments against it. And the main arguments for it are moral and ethical. I think more people is good for the economy. More jobs created, more people being productive, more fit people to work. The odds of having intelligent inventors increase the higher the population is. I call myself a misanthropic natalist, and I am. I don't like most people, but I want more people on Earth, because the more people there on Earth, the more likelihood I'll run into someone good. If 95% of the population sucks, then the more people there are, the 5% is a bigger number. So I am sort of a misanthropic natalist, and I don't like most of humanity, but the more people there are on the planet, the greater the odds that there'll be some good people. So that's sort of my case for open borders. I'd love to hear your comments. I hope you enjoyed the video, and have a great day. Take care.